Lunch for the Supe is a lunch meeting with the EBR Foundation, who supports us and sponsors it. And it's just a group of community people who come in. We want to get our message out to the community, what we're doing. And we're going to talk about how we move forward, how we get teachers better, how we get students better in our school system. We have academic audits that we've already done, and we're going to take a look at that. We also have the PARCC test in now. We have a baseline on our scores. So having said all of that, we can now sit back and go, what do we need to do to get better?
But I wanted to make a few comments on the Foundation's initiative, and it is our signature initiative to integrate STEM learning opportunities and strengthen teacher effectiveness in STEAM education to enhance students' development of 21st century skills. Now, I was educated in the 20th century, so I was a little bit unsure what these 21st century skills were about, and I was a little curious to see, well, maybe I missed out on something having been educated in the 20th century. So I decided to do a little research and pulled up the list of 21st century skills, and was a little concerned when I saw that I was missing out on a lot of things during my education, like critical thinking and problem solving, reasoning, self-discipline, and leadership. And I think we can all recognize, obviously, that these skills are not exclusive to the 21st century. These skills were taught when all of us were in school, but one thing that I've seen that is different is how these skills are being taught. And I've seen it while visiting East Baton Rouge schools, particularly the classrooms that are implementing some of the programs that the Foundation is funding. All of them focused on STEAM education. And what I've seen in the difference is that these classrooms are really facilitated by teachers. It's not like it was when I was in the classroom, where the teacher stood up, provided lecture, provided information, and then we were to, in a sense, regurgitate that information or be able to demonstrate proficiency in some manner. I have heard some people refer to it as drill and kill, but it didn't involve a lot of student engagement and student involvement. And now what I'm seeing in the classroom is more teacher facilitated, student-led, project-based type work that's in the classroom, where the students are leading the discussion. The students are working on real-world relevant problems that they can make connections to, and then they are applying what they've learned in the classroom to the projects that they are working on. What I see in this process that these students are going through in the classroom is really reflective of the engineering process. One of reflection, research, discovery, application, collaboration, and communication. And I think one of the key parts of that is it is through the application of what they've learned that they're able to develop that critical understanding, that deeper understanding of the material at hand. The other thing that I found interesting is the interdisciplinary nature of this process. I had the opportunity yesterday to visit McKinley High School, and you'll probably be reading about this program in the near future called English Ant, which is a partnership between East Baton Rouge school system and LSU's Go Teach program. And what I found fascinating was it's an English class, and I wish it had been a class that was available to me in high school. That was my impression when I walked out of it. But what I saw were students that were going through this exact process in terms of, and it was primarily through a writing exercise that would lead to research on a particular problem that was presented that the students were able to decide for themselves. And what was interesting is that it's actually incorporating many of the STEM skills and these 21st century learning skills into the project, to include the research and that they were going to be going out and doing surveys and focus groups, collecting data, and then being able to analyze that data and offer solutions and prove a hypothesis. So that's one of the things that I found fascinating about the differences that we're seeing, not necessarily in the skills, but in the way that they're being taught. Now, a little bit more about the foundation and the programs that we sponsor, thanks to our primary sponsors and generous members of the community. Some of those programs include funding First Lego League, FRC and CPERT robotics in EBR schools, funding our nationally recognized STEM Up Baton Rouge Middle School STEM mentoring program, funding K-12 chess programs, which include chess tournaments and teacher professional development, the National Math and Science Initiative, another teacher professional development program, and our soon-to-be implemented Maker program for our elementary schools. Finally, I want to ask for your support. And if you look on your tables, you will notice that we have put out our annual report, which provides a little bit more information on the programs that we sponsor. In addition to that, you're going to see a contribution envelope. And I'm going to ask for your sincere consideration of helping us to continue to expand these programs in East Baton Rouge schools to provide additional opportunities for our students to learn those 21st century skills and help them to prepare for college and career. If you want to make that contribution today, you can do so. Marie in the back can collect those envelopes at the end of the lunch. In addition to that, you can also go to our website, which is foundationebr.org, which has the opportunity on there for you to make contributions online. And we'd also like for you to learn more about the foundation by liking our Facebook page so that you can learn more about these types of events and some of the work that we're doing in East Baton Rouge schools.
I'm Jeff Martin. I'm the South Louisiana Business Banking Area Executive for Regions Bank, and on behalf of the associates of Regions Bank and as a member of the Foundation Board, thank you all for being here. It's a great opportunity for us to have a chance to spend some time in a very intimate setting, listen to what Mr. Drake is working on. And it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of good stuff. For those who were here last time, I'm going to repeat something, but I think it's important as to why this is important to us and why it's important to me. I may have told you, I think, that when I meet with the team in South Louisiana, I usually give them a kind of a parting words of encouragement every time we end the meeting. And it goes something like this. I encourage them to make a difference. And what I ask them to do is to make a difference in the lives of a fellow associate. This is every day. Make a difference in the lives of their clients, or make a difference in the community. And by your involvement here, by your being willing to come here, you're doing something like that today. You're making a difference in the community. Mr. Drake may have some other ideas, but I want to, before I bring him up here, encourage you to do something. There's more you can do. Maybe you're trying to figure out, how do I help? Maybe you don't have kids in public school. Maybe you don't have kids of age to be in school at this point. I think there's three ways you can help. The first one's probably sometimes the easy part, which is you can do that with your wallet. The foundation, as Ted mentioned, is working very hard to institute various programs throughout the school system, many of which are aligned with STEM or STEAM, and we're very excited about that. So you can help with your wallet to put programs, help fund programs in the schools. A second way you can do is help with your involvement. Get out. If there's something you hear going on, you hear about going on, and you thought, you know what, that sounds interesting, man, go. Go be part of it. Sometimes just being there is enough because it can help push it forward a little bit further. So get involved. And the third part that sometimes is missed is your message. Listen to what you hear. Pay attention to what he talks about. If it means something to you and you think it's on the path that needs to be, then message it. Go out and talk about it. The power of the word is tremendous. Change occurs because we're consistent in a message that we believe in, and occurs because people see people they think have value doing it. And that's no different whether you're in a business organization, if you run your household with your kids, or if you're doing something like this. So those are three ways I would encourage you to get involved and things that you can do to make a difference in your community. And I hope that you maybe think about that and take one of those up. With that, not feeling very satisfied with a full sandwich yet, but a few shrimp, I'd like to introduce Warren Drake.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. I want to thank y'all for being here today. I really do. It's an honor to be here, and we have a lot of really good things going on in East Baton Rouge Parish schools, and I want to just talk to you about them a little bit. And so I may ramble a little bit and come back, but let me talk briefly about where I was this morning. I want you to think about this. Jeff is talking about we can do more, and we can be a part of something bigger than just us. This morning at 8:30, I was at LSU. Dr. King Alexander, right when I got this job several months ago, called me and said, Warren, I want to do something. I want to be a part of EBR schools. And I said, I love it. It's great. So we began a conversation, and he said, I want the sixth graders to visit the LSU campus. And I went, sixth grade? He said, sixth graders. And there's a pamphlet he puts out, and that's when you start thinking about college. And so it's not about if you're going to college, it's when you're going to college. And this morning when we spoke to 850 kids at 9 o'clock this morning at the LSU Union Theater, and that's one of 3 trips, we have about 2,500 kids, sixth graders, who are being hosted by the president. Had cheerleaders, Mike the Tiger, not the real one, there this morning, and had a video for them, touring them to 4 different places on the campus and then providing them with lunch, and they're leaving about 1 o'clock, about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, headed back to their schools. That's commitment. That takes planning. If you were with me this morning and we were standing there watching 850 kids get off buses, and they were so well behaved, they were so appreciative to be there. And so I just want you to think about it. That's commitment. We can all do more than we can do. I want to introduce a few people real quickly. Dr. Michelle Clayton is the number 2 person. She is the best academic person in the world, I'm going to say. I keep going, Baton Rouge. She's phenomenal. She was with me in Zachary for 10 years, and she's just a phenomenal academic person. Mr. Adam Smith is our associate superintendent back there, and I think I saw Stephanie Cargile come in. Where are you, Stephanie? Right here, ExxonMobil, who's one of our partners as well. So I want to thank you for being here. I'm going to talk a little bit about one team, one mission. And I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but one team, one mission. This is our 100-day plan that I built before I became the superintendent. And I want to read the things that we talk about here. Student achievement, and I'm going to talk about that one first, just for a minute. Student achievement. This is the first year of the PARC test. Everybody knows what the PARC test is, Partnership for Readiness to College and Career. And it was much more difficult. It's much more like what Ted Fernberg was talking about. It's much more collaborative. It's much more about the process rather than just the product. It's speaking it, it's reading it, it's writing it, it's researching it. It's what we saw yesterday at Panther University at McKinley High School. They're rebranding their school into what's called Panther University. There's a gifted group of students there who are just phenomenal. And so, but the PARC test is one that we took this year, and I'm going to talk briefly about our results. English language arts and in math. In English language arts, we pretty much held our own. We improved in 6th and 8th grade, but we dropped in 3, 4, 5, and 7th grade. Overall in the state, and we're not happy with this now, we just have to face the reality when it comes out. We weren't ready for the PARC test here. We're going to be ready for it next year. The state averaged a decline of 1%. We averaged a decline in English language arts of 0.2%. So I consider that a win because everybody went down. But when you look at math, if you take a look at math, the state had an 11% drop in math scores this year. Overall, we had a 12% drop. So even though we're not happy with 12%, we're in there with the trend from the state. Are we happy with that? No, we're not. So what are we going to do to change that? And I want to talk about that briefly. What are we going to do to make our academic piece better? Because that is number one. Student achievement is always number one. It has to be number one. Well, we just completed what we called the academic audits. We had Mr. Smith, we had principals, we had executive directors go into every school, 80-plus schools, and they sat down with the principal, and they interviewed teachers, they interviewed students, they interviewed staff to say, what is the culture on this campus? What are we doing right here? What can we change? What are we doing that is challenging that we need to change? So now we have a baseline of the PARC test. We know where we are there, and we know where our schools are right now with an academic audit. So what are we going to do? We're going to put that together, and that's what Dr. Clayton and Adam Smith, and that's one of the reasons they're here, because they lead that program. So what are we doing? We have a K-12 writing program we've just started. Jennifer Jacobson is one of the premier writing experts in the United States. I'm not where she's from, know where she's from. I think she's Minnesota. Where's she from, Michelle? You remember? New Jersey. Jennifer Jacobson, I saw her about 3 years ago when I worked for the State Department of Education in another district, St. Charles Parish. And I said, that person is good. So we hired her, and so she is initiating a workshop called the K-12 Writing Program. Instructional technology, we're doing one-to-one computer programs at Scotlandville and at Lee High School, one-to-one. We've got to be more technologically oriented, not just having the machines. It's not about having the machines. It's about using the machines and using the technology to integrate the math and to make sure we're teaching what we need to teach in the classroom. The MAPS program. The MAPS program talks about main lesson, activities, pushing past proficient, and strategies for struggling students. So I want you to think about them for a minute. These are basically resources for teachers. They'll be able to go online. If they have a lesson coming up and they're not an expert on that lesson, they can go on that online and take a look at the MAPS program. They can see a teacher that we have, not somebody from New Jersey or New York, but somebody in our system who is an expert on that lesson, who is teaching that lesson to our kids in the classroom. So they can look at that, they can model that, they can go to all the resources. So we're really focusing on academics, because when we got here and we took a look at the big picture, we're seeing, okay, we need to do a lot of different things. Academics is number one. So I want to talk briefly now about the second thing, which would be governance. And that, one of our school board members, Barbara Freiberg, is here. The school board over the past 2 years, year and a half, went from 11 members to 9 members. I have a great relationship with our board. We work very well together. We're all on the same page, and when I talk about one team, one mission, what does that mean? That means that every person in the district, it doesn't matter who you are, is just as important as the next person. And I want you to, this is a philosophy. I want you to think about it a minute. Every time I go into a school, I always go into the cafeteria. Because if we didn't feed kids, the schools would close down. We wouldn't have school. It wouldn't happen. So I go into the cafeteria. I meet with paraprofessionals. I meet with teachers. I meet with principals. But every person on that campus is just as important as the next. And when they feel that sense of ownership, what is your job? My job is to educate the kids in this school or in East Baton Rouge Parish. It's an ownership thing. And I want to talk about ownership just for a minute, and I'll give you an example. And I know I've mentioned this before, but I think it's significant to think about it just for a moment. I went to Westdale Heights Academic Magnet to tour the school for the first time. When I got there, the principal, Miss Edwards, said, here are 2 students. They're going to be our tour guides, a 4th and a 5th grader. So Ms. Edwards and I followed them, and the 4th and 5th grader, they were articulate, they were knowledgeable, they were talking about the school, everything they have in it. It's a phenomenal place. In fact, yesterday I was there. They're going to the D-Day Museum right after they get back from Thanksgiving holiday. So the D-Day Museum sends them artifacts, sends them a group of artifacts. They have to wear gloves, and they go through all these different artifacts, and they study that time period, the greatest generation. And Carrie and I, my brother right here, our father was a fighter pilot in World War II, and we have lots of artifacts, and I took over to that school, and they were going through all these artifacts. And so when they get to the D-Day Museum, they will understand. It's not just, I'm going to the D-Day Museum and walk in a museum to look at what's on the wall. It's understanding what happened during that time period and what came out of that and put my hands on it. So these are the kinds of experiences we're talking about. I want to talk a little bit more about the WHAM story, though. So we were walking around with these kids in this school. And like I said, they're articulate, they're intelligent. Well, I'm sort of a fanatic on how schools look. And that's what was my very first focus when I started back in May. I said our schools have to look different and they have to look better than they looked before. And everybody's wondering why. Well, we all want something that looks nice. The fact of the matter is 99% of the people who pass our schools every day will never go in that school. But every one of them will turn and look at the school and say, wow, that is a really nice looking school. Or, wow, something other comment, right? But they're not going to go in that school. Many of you may not have ever been in one of our schools, but every one of you have been past our school. You probably passed a school on the way over here. So the way the school looks on the outside is important. It tells that we have pride in what we do. It tells that we maintain it. But we're walking through the garden at Westdale Heights Academic Magnet, and I see a piece of paper on the ground, and I'm telling myself, when I get to that piece of paper, I'm going to pick it up. What do you think happened? The students picked it up. And I turned to the principal and I said, you've made it. And she said, what do you mean? I said, not only do you own this school and the teachers own this school, but the students own it. When the students have ownership in it, and it's like what we experienced yesterday at McKinley High School, the students had ownership of that classroom. And when they have ownership of it, it runs itself. It really runs itself. And so those are the kind of things we're trying to get to. I'm going to talk, and I'm going to open it up for questions if you have any in just a few minutes. We'll talk about customer service a minute. We are a state organization, okay? And a lot of people think the state mentality is, well, they have to come to us. I just go to work, do my job, carry my lunch pail, give a few hours work, whatever it is, go home. I'm going to get my paycheck, whether I'm really good at it or not so good at it. Because the teacher next door may not be as good as me, but they're going to get paid the same. That's what's called the state mentality. I don't believe in the state mentality because people do have a choice to come to us. You know, why do you think we have so many parochial and so many charter and so many private schools? Because parents are going to choose what they think is the best option for their kids, and they should. I'm not against those. I'm for good schools. So a great school system in East Baton Rouge Parish is critical to the future of the economy of Baton Rouge and the growth of Baton Rouge. It's important. That's why I took on this challenge. You know, I'd worked a lot of different places, and I'm, you know, at a certain age now. But I said, you know, I watched where I had spent most of my career, and that's East Baton Rouge Parish, and said, you know, we can do better than this, and we're going to do better than this. But customer service is speaking to a parent who walks in, understanding that we don't have a job without those customers, the parents and the students. We don't have a job. So taking care of them. Instead of saying go down the hall and go this way, you get up and walk them over there. So customer service is important to our future. I want to talk briefly about the Magnet and Gifted program. We have 28 plus Magnet schools out of about 80 schools. We have 3,200 gifted students. And let me just talk about the school system itself. We're a big organization. We have 6,000 employees, a $500 million budget, 42,500 students, 87 locations. This is a big organization. We have nearly 20,000 people on our health care plan, employees plus families. It's a big organization. It's something that we have to understand that we need to be better consumers of our resources in our school system. And that means things like turning off the lights when you walk out of the classroom. We have to teach all of these things to all of our people. Let me talk briefly about school safety and discipline. It's been in the news a lot lately. It's not where we want it. But let me tell you, out of the 80 plus schools we have, the vast majority of them are super great schools. And even the ones you may have been reading about in the paper lately, they are super good schools. We have outstanding teachers and leaders in those schools. Do we need to get better? Yes, we do. Because I believe that in a classroom, and I'm going to go back to what Ted and I saw yesterday, the camaraderie in the classroom, the ownership of the kids in the classroom, it changes things. What happens is kids learn exponentially better when they're comfortable, when they feel like they're valued by their teachers. And that's what we're trying to get to. And so we're training our teachers on a daily and a weekly basis. I have a leadership speaker series that I started last month. Dale Brown was the first speaker. He came out and you know what kind of motivational speaker he is. And he talked to all of our principals and of all our leaders about being great leaders and getting out there in front of the problem. We're not going to hide problems. We're going to make sure that we address them and solve the problems, because we have to get better at what we're doing every day. I'm going to get y'all out of here on time now, but I'm going to allow y'all to ask a few questions in just a minute. I want to talk briefly about Struma and Ardendale. You've all heard that the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board for several years has worked on trying to get a Struma High School back. We're still in talks with that. It hasn't happened yet, and we're still in talks with that, and as the closer we get to the new year, the harder it's going to be to open it for the next school year, but we're still trying to push forward in that direction. But Struma is located right next to a BRCC campus on Acadian Thruway. It would be a perfect technical high school, like a Struma High-Tech High or something like that, where they can go in there and learn IBC and get IBC certifications. Gone are the days where we go to industrial arts and build a bread box to take home. That's not going to do us any good. We're talking about training students how to be welders, pipe fitters, gaming, the gaming industry, the automotive. Right now on Wooddale Boulevard, if you go right behind the Technology Center on Florida, right down Wooddale, go down there and see what's being built right now. It's Automotive Training Center. Matt McKay, John Spain, the Baton Rouge Foundation, a group of people through the Ardendale project started this. It is going to be a state-of-the-art school for kids to learn how to become auto mechanics. There's no shade tree mechanic anymore. This is all technology. And every one of the all-star brands that they have, and there's a lot of them, are donating all the brand new cars for that. So they're going to be working on brand new vehicles. There's also talk of a diesel mechanic and also a crane operator thing over there. And we're going to build a school right next to it, along with BRCC. There's going to be several different locations there that when our students leave those locations, they have a certification. They can go, this is my certification. I'm certified to do this at the next level. And that's what we have to get to. We have to get to the certification level. The state changed a few years ago to what we call Jump Start. That means jump start to the next level, to a career or a technical job. And we're working on that as well. So finally, I want to say a few words here about parental and community involvement and public relations. I believe you have to get the word out to people. That's what we're doing right here today. And I appreciate you all coming today, because we have to get the word out that EBR schools are ready, willing, and able to take your students, and we'll find a place for you that is a great place. We have academic, foreign language immersion schools that I can take you to today, and you can hear first graders speaking fluent Spanish and French. And we also teach Mandarin Chinese. I can take you to a school that has culinary arts, that teaches people to go straight into the restaurant business. Woodlawn High School. I went over there a couple of weeks ago and watched them preparing the meals. We have a lot of great options out there that most people don't know about. But parent community involvement, you're the community. We need your involvement in our schools. I'm not talking money here. I'm talking about your person, your participation, your company, being a partner with our schools. One of the things we did when we first got here was to try to partner every one of our schools with a business. We met at Jubin's and we partnered 35 schools with businesses that didn't have partnerships already. We had about 25 to 35 that already had partnerships, but we still have a few that need partners. So if your business or your corporation is interested in partnering, and it's not all about money, it's about time, it's about saying, I'm here to help you. I want to give certain things to teachers that I can't give out of public money. I want them to feel like they're valued and be able to help. And so we do need assets as well. Finally, I'm going to talk about, of course, I want to thank the foundation, but I want to talk about a book I read right before we started school, Turn the Ship Around, and it talks about leadership. When I talk to my principals, I talk about leadership, because it doesn't matter what business you're in. If you have a great leader, they are going to perform at a different level. And so right now we're working with our leaders, our principals, through a leadership speaker series, through leadership meetings once a month on how to get better at what you're doing. Are we perfect? No. Will we ever be perfect? No. We're going to make a lot of mistakes. And you know what? That's okay, because you make mistakes in your business too. We're going to go, you know what? That was not the right thing to do. We're going to back up a little bit and go down a different road. But I want to talk about Captain Marquette, who was he was the captain of a boomer. You know what a boomer is? That's a nuclear submarine. And it was, the Santa Fe was the name of it. It was the worst ship in the Navy. And they sent him there. And you know how it is in the military. When you give an order, they follow an order. So he gave an order one day to his subordinates, about 6 subordinates, and he knew that they couldn't fulfill the order. But they were gone for a long time because they wanted to please their captain. And they finally came back and said, "Captain, we can't do that." And he said, "Well, I know that. Why did it take you so long?" He said, "Because we want to please you." He said, "From now on, here's what I want you to do. You come to me and you say, 'Captain, I intend to blank.'" Think about that a minute. "I intend to blank." He said, "Then I'm going to look at it and go, it's not going to kill us. Carry on." So what does that do? It creates a different level of leadership where there's not just one leader in the organization. Dr. Michelle Clayton here is as good a leader as there is in the state of Louisiana. She could be a superintendent anywhere, anytime. She's that good. Adam Smith is too. So we are here to create leadership that's down the line, that's systemic and sustainable, and that's very, very important. I think that I'm going to stop right there, and if there's any questions, again, I appreciate you coming. Lee High School will open in August, and I have it if you'll. It is a school for 1,200 students. Here it is right here. It's a school for 1,200 students. Currently we have 500 students at Lee High. It's in the old Valley Park. So what will happen is we have changed the system by which students get into Lee High to the attendance zone first. So if you live anywhere from near LSU South all the way out past Perkins Row, a student will have first choice to get into Lee High this next year. So that includes parochial, private schools out in that area. Of course, our magnet progression kids will have an opportunity to get in Lee High. But let me tell you about Lee High. It has 3 different areas of the school. We have 7 new dual enrollment courses, 7 new AP courses, a 1-to-1 laptop program. And here are the pathways. I talked about Jump Start a moment ago. There are 3 buildings, and in each building there's going to be 2 pathways: biomedical engineering, bioscience, computer science, web design, TV and broadcasting, and film and photography. So if kids want to go into any one of those, they can do that. In each one of those 3 buildings, there's actually 4 buildings. One's the administration building, the cafeteria, the gym. But the other 3 buildings are identical, and there's about a 3,500 square foot wow space, which if you think about it, it's going to be a research school. We have a partnership with LSU. We're going to have interns, externs. They're actually helping us write the curriculum for the biomedical and biosciences right now. It is going to be a school unlike no other in Baton Rouge. And so please go out and talk about that. The enrollment period is open right now for Lee High School, and we're taking kids in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. So if a student is at another school and wants to transfer as a junior, they can do that. I think we have 80 openings junior. Is that what it is? You remember, Barbara? But anyway, Lee High is going to be very special. The wow spaces are where the research is going to be put into the theory into practice. The practice is going to be in the wow spaces. We intend to have 3D printers, all kinds of things that are going to move that research into the practical realm. And we're going to have we have student interns that are going to be there teaching all day, every day.
What are the priorities as you see them for this academic year?
Well, the park test, this was the first year for the park test. Well, because of that, the state went down about 11%. We went down about 12%. So we're a little bit less than the state. So we have a concern there, but of course it is a baseline. It's the first year the park was taken. It's a much different test. So having said that, we look at all of that information. We just completed academic audits of all our schools. So looking at the test scores, looking at the way that our schools right now address academics, and we can put the two together. We're doing a MAPS program, which is resources for teachers. We're doing more training for teachers on how to prepare students who are already basic to go to the proficient level. So we're doing a lot of different things academically to get us better.
Tell us a little bit about why is your business involved in supporting East Baton Rouge Parish School System?
Well, really, there's I think two reasons that can cover that. The first one is there's nothing more important to the fabric of our community than the school system. It is the centerpiece of our families. It's a centerpiece of our ability to educate our kids, which is our most valuable resource, to help them develop for jobs in the future, which is part of having a vibrant economy. And the second piece is this is one of those things that you can't just stand back and say, let someone else go do it. This is an effort that everyone must be involved in. And Regents Banks believes it's that important, and as a result, we're involved.
Your reaction to today's program?
I think it's great. The ability for Warren Drake to come out and have a conversation with a relatively small group of people and talk about what he's trying to do, what the school system's trying to do, and give folks a chance to listen to it, but also, more importantly, to ask him questions. There's nothing more important than the ability to communicate that in an open setting.
Parental involvement, I've met with so many different groups, from church groups to nonprofits to just about any group who would want to meet with me. We have to have ownership in our schools from our community, not just the parents, but the parental community that's out there to help us. So many different groups have come into our schools. We have a lot of different groups that come in and do tutoring in the afternoon, from churches to just nonprofit organizations. We cannot do this alone. We have to have the support of the entire community, which is one reason we're having this today.
What kind of response have you had from the community over the last several months?
It's been tremendous. It really has been tremendous. I have people calling me on a weekly basis saying, what can we do? Just when I walked in a few minutes ago, one of our community people said, what can I do to be more involved in the schools? That's what we have to have. A great public school system is very, very important for the future of Baton Rouge. There's no doubt about it. It goes side and side. Good school system, good community, good city. It just goes together. We have to have it.
If people have questions like more information, what should they do?
Well, they can go to our website, and they can call me directly. They can email me directly. I'm a hands-on person. I will talk to them. I'll return their phone call. And these are the kind of things we want to do. I want our people to be more customer service friendly, more available to the community, not standing back, but ready to engage.